Ever wondered why drive-in theaters felt magical? From watching movies under the stars, to nostalgic rituals, and even to the perfect date night. Join us as we journey back to rediscover what made drive-in theaters unforgettable experiences. Beginning with something that bent every rule of what a theater could be: the comfort of your own car. There was something almost rebellious about watching a movie from your car. You could bring your own blankets, slide the seats all the way back, and kick your shoes off without a care in the world. The car wasn't just transportation anymore. It became your own private theater box. It smelled faintly of leather, popcorn, and the warm air of a summer night. When the film began, you'd hear the soft crackle of the speaker hanging from your window, mixing with the low hum of 100 idling engines. Back in the 1940s and 50s, this kind of comfort felt radical. Inside a traditional theater, you had to behave, whisper, sit still, and stay in line with the rest of the audience. But here, under the stars, you could talk, laugh, or sing along if you felt like it. If you were a parent, it meant no babysitter, no judging looks when your kid asked too many questions mid-film. For couples, it meant privacy, a date night where you could hold hands in the dark, share a milkshake, and talk about the movie without shushing yourself. And for kids, it was pure adventure. They could curl up with a soda and pillow, peeking over the front seat as the glowing screen lit up their faces. The best part was the control over your space, your sound, your experience. If the movie dragged, you could stretch your legs, lower the window, or just lean back and watch the stars for a bit. You decided when the night ended. It was cinematic freedom, shaped by the rhythm of your own car. So ask yourself, when was the last time you watched a movie where you could feel the night breeze drift through the window, smell the grass beyond the dashboard, and know that the whole world had quietly turned into your very own theater? Family nights without rules. Drive-ins were made for families, not as an afterthought, but as the very heart of the experience. In the golden age of the 1950s, a full carload cost just $1, and kids under 12 often got in free. It didn't matter if there were 3 of you or 7 squeezed into a station wagon, everyone was welcome. Parents could bring crying babies, chatty toddlers, or even the family dog, and no one would turn around with that disapproving theater glare. The drive-in was a judgment-free zone, a place where the chaos of family life wasn't something to hide. It was part of the show. The moment you pulled in, you could feel it. That hum of excitement. Kids pressing their noses to the glass as they searched for the perfect spot. Parents unpacking blankets and snacks from the trunk. Playgrounds sat just below those towering white screens. Swings creaking softly as the sky turned indigo. Some kids climbed jungle gyms while the projectors flickered to life, their shadows dancing against the light. It was freedom in its purest form. A space where parents didn't have to shush their children and kids didn't have to sit still. And then there was the snack bar. You could smell it before you even saw it. A blend of buttered popcorn, sizzling hot dogs, and spun sugar from the cotton candy machine. Inside, it was bright and buzzing, a miniature carnival glowing against the night. Some drive-ins even had bottle warmers for babies and diaper dispensers for parents. Small touches that proved the entire idea was built around comfort and community. You didn't need luxury, you needed laughter and a place to belong. Compare that to today's movie outings. Overpriced tickets, strict silence, sticky floors, and ushers reminding you to keep your phone off. Back then, family time wasn't carved out of a busy schedule. It unfolded naturally. You just packed the car and rolled down the windows. The perfect date night. For teenagers and young couples, the drive-in wasn't just a place to see a movie, it was a rite of passage. It was where shyness turned into courage, where hands met in the dark, and where first kisses felt like they could last forever. There was something magnetic about it. The hum of car engines, the glow of the screen reflecting off windshields, the mingled scent of popcorn, cologne, and summer air. It wasn't only about the film playing, it was about being young, just for the night. Every weekend, rows of cars lined up beneath the stars like a private constellation of possibilities. The drive-in gave teenagers something precious, a place where they could exist just outside the watchful eyes of parents. It was independence wrapped in romance, rebellion softened by laughter. You could whisper, joke, or miss half the dialogue because you were too busy stealing glances at the person next to you. Many love stories began that way, quietly, in the flicker of movie light against a fogged-up windshield. In the 1950s, cars weren't just vehicles, they were statements of identity. It was pride, style, and freedom on 4 wheels. At the drive-in, those cars became stages. Boys revved their engines to impress. Girls laughed, rolled their eyes, and leaned closer as the movie began. The whole lot buzzed with that intoxicating pulsating electricity of youth. The drive-in made you feel like the world was yours, and maybe, for a few hours, it was. You didn't need fancy restaurants or expensive dates, just a blanket, a soda, and the person who made time feel like it had stopped. There were no notifications, no glowing screens to interrupt the moment, just a heartbeat, a story unfolding on the screen, and the night stretching endlessly before you. Have you ever had a date that felt like that, where for a little while, it felt like love itself was being projected just for you? Movies under the stars. There's a reason people still call it movie magic. At a drive-in, that phrase wasn't just an expression, it was literal. You didn't simply watch a film, you felt it. The projector beam sliced through the night air like a comet. That light carried stories of heroes, heartbreak, and laughter, landing on a screen the size of a barn. Every sense came alive. You could look up between scenes and see real constellations hanging above the ones on the screen. A cool breeze drifted in through the window, carrying the scent of grass and popcorn. The faint static of hundreds of small speakers filled the air, blending with the hum of engines cooling and the laughter of families scattered across the lot. Some people sat on car hoods, others on picnic blankets, and for a few hours, everyone was united beneath the same sky. When the very first drive-in was opened in Camden, New Jersey in 1933, this was exactly what was imagined, a place where families could experience movies with the open sky as the ceiling. The owner wanted his mother, who found indoor theaters uncomfortable, to enjoy cinema in the comfort of her car. That idea, born of love and practicality, sparked something timeless. By the 1950s, more than 4,000 drive-ins dotted the American landscape, glowing like a constellation of their own. People didn't come just for the movies. They came for the moment, the golden light of sunset, the excitement as the first frame flickered, the way the night wrapped around you as the story unfolded. The stars above seemed to wink in approval. Wouldn't it be something if the next movie you watched came with the smell of grass again? If you could hear crickets under the dialogue, or feel the wind on your face while the sky itself became part of the show? Because once you've seen a film under the stars, no theater ever feels quite the same. The affordable escape. Drive-ins were born out of hard times, the Great Depression, when simple pleasures had to stretch a long way. In those lean years, most Americans couldn't afford fancy evenings or crowded indoor theaters, but the drive-in offered something radical: luxury without the price tag. For just a single dollar, 25 cents per car, 25 cents per person with a family cap, you could fill your vehicle with laughter, snacks, and stories that lasted all night. You didn't need to dress up or dine out, you just needed a tank of gas. That affordability wasn't just about saving money, it was about equality. The drive-in was a great social leveler. It didn't matter if you were a factory worker, a farmer, or a young couple starting out. Everyone parked side by side, all facing the same giant glowing screen. There were no balcony seats, no box offices for the wealthy, just the hum of engines cooling in the dark. By the 1950s, during the post-war boom, that democratic spirit only grew stronger. Families were expanding, budgets were tight, and leisure time was precious. The drive-in became the great American weekend ritual. You'd cram cousins, neighbors, and half the block into one car, kids in pajamas, parents with thermoses of coffee, and make an evening of it. For just a few coins, you could watch a double feature, maybe even a cartoon short in between, and feel like the world had given you something priceless. Even the food told that same story. Concession stands sold foil-wrapped cheeseburgers, butter-soaked popcorn, and milkshakes so thick they'd melt halfway through the second movie. Some drive-ins went further, with full diners and barbecue pits, turning the night into a feast as much as a film. Back then, a dollar didn't just buy admission, it bought belonging. A night under the stars, laughter in the air, and the kind of memories that stayed long after the credits rolled. The snack bar adventure. You didn't just go to the concession stand, you explored it. The snack bar was its own kind of magic, a glowing island in the middle of a sea of cars. Neon signs flickered above, chrome counters, windows fogged with the steam of hot grills and buttered popcorn. The smell hit you before you even got close. Salt, sugar, grease, and something faintly sweet from the candy counter. It was intoxicating, especially when you were a kid with a few coins burning a hole in your pocket. You remember that dash, don't you? Gravel crunching under your shoes as you raced toward the lights, the muffled sound of movie dialogue floating through the night air. Parents followed slowly behind, fishing for change, calling after you not to run. Inside, there were popcorn machines the size of washing machines, rows of soda bottles chilling in ice water, and candy displays that gleamed like treasure. Popcorn came in buckets so big they needed both hands to carry, and soda was served in glass bottles, clinked together in cardboard trays. Then came the intermission, the heart of the ritual. A cheerful voice from the speakers urged everyone to visit the snack bar, followed by that little jingle still lodged in the collective memory. Let's all go to the lobby. The cartoon dancing popcorn and soda cup weren't just commercials, they were signals that the night wasn't over yet. Families spilled out of their cars, kids laughed, headlights blinked as people shuffled back and forth, and for a few minutes, the drive-in transformed into a miniature town square. Some theaters took things even further. They built miniature golf courses beside the lot, added dance floors for teenagers, or installed ice cream parlors and petting zoos. In a few, you could even order hamburgers or barbecue straight from your car window. Every drive-in had its quirks, a secret recipe or a mascot, you name it. The double feature tradition. You never just got one movie at the drive-in, you got two. Sometimes even three if you were lucky. But it was never really about getting more for your money. It was about stretching time, about making the night last a little longer. The double feature was an invitation. Stay a bit, talk a bit, laugh a bit more. It turned movie-going into a full-blown experience, one that started at sunset and often ended long after midnight, when the air had cooled and the smell of popcorn still clung to your clothes. In the 1950s, drive-ins across America perfected the art of pairing films. You might see a swashbuckling adventure followed by a spooky B-movie, or a romantic comedy leading into a wild creature feature with rubber-suited monsters and dramatic screams. These combinations weren't random. They were crafted to keep you hooked, to give you a rhythm to the evening. Families stayed through both films because it felt like you were getting two different worlds for the price of one. The first was for the kids, the second for the grown-ups who didn't mind a little mystery or mischief after dark. As the first movie's credits rolled, the lot would stir back to life. Kids yawned and clambered into the back seat. Couples stretched their legs, and the snack bar lights flared again, glowing like a tiny carnival in the dark. The air filled with laughter, car doors opening and closing, the rustle of candy wrappers, and the faint echo of that intermission jingle everyone knew by heart. It was a moment suspended between stories, where time seemed to pause before the next reel began. The second film always felt different, quieter, more intimate. The crowds thinned, and the night grew softer. Back then, a movie night wasn't just entertainment, it was an event. When was the last time you let a good night linger, just because it felt too good to end? The sense of community. Drive-ins were never meant to isolate people. They were designed to bring them together. You could feel it from the moment you pulled onto the gravel lot. Rows of cars parked in perfect formation, headlights dimming one by one, the low hum of engines cooling in the dusk. Kids waved from the back seats, parents leaned out their windows to chat, and someone somewhere honked twice, a familiar greeting that said, "Hey, we're all here." The air buzzed with anticipation and connection long before the movie even started. The drive-in was more than a place to watch films. It was a small town gathering disguised as entertainment. Neighbors who hadn't spoken all week suddenly found themselves parked side by side. Teenagers met up in groups, trading stories and sodas between rows. Parents passed snacks through open car windows, and for a few hours, everyone shared the same rhythm. Laughter rippling from one end of the lot to the other, like a wave under the stars. In the 1950s, that sense of community became the drive-in's soul. These outdoor theaters doubled as civic centers. They hosted Sunday church services, charity drives, and car shows. On weekends, they turned into open-air festivals, fireworks on the 4th of July, Halloween costume contests for kids, live music before the first reel spun. Some even screened local, election results, or hometown football highlights, turning the big screen into a shared mirror of life itself. And when nature decided to interrupt, no one ran for cover. If a thunderstorm rolled through, families stayed put, windshield wipers keeping time as rain tapped on the roof. Inside each car, people shared sandwiches, told stories, and waited for the clouds to pass. There was something profoundly comforting in that, knowing that dozens of others were weathering the same storm just a few feet away. Now we scroll instead of speak, post instead of participate. Social media gives us connection in theory, but rarely in feeling. The iconic sound, crackling speakers and car radios. Before Bluetooth, before surround sound, before movies became perfectly mixed digital files, there was the humble drive-in speaker, a small gray metal box with a single crackly voice. You'd hook it to your car window, twisting the knob until you found that sweet spot where the static softened just enough for the dialogue to come through. It wasn't perfect. It buzzed, it popped, and sometimes it faded out when you shifted in your seat. But that was the charm. That imperfection made it feel alive. You could hear more than the movie through that little box. You could hear the faint hiss of the film reel turning in the projection booth, the low hum of the electric amplifier, the echo of laughter bouncing off rows of parked cars. That sound was warm and tangible, a reminder that cinema used to be something you shared in the open air, not sealed off behind headphones. It was as much a part of the night as the stars overhead or the smell of buttered popcorn. In the earliest days of the 1930s, drive-ins didn't even have individual speakers. They blasted sound from giant central towers across the lot, which meant if the wind changed, so did your movie. Imagine trying to hear Clark Gable's voice drifting across the night while engines hummed and babies cried in the background. But by 1941, RCA introduced the in-car speaker system, and it changed everything. Suddenly, each car had its own little bubble of sound. Couples could lower the volume to whisper, families could crank it up to drown out squabbling kids, and everyone could feel like the movie belonged to them. By the 1970s and 80s, technology evolved again. Drive-ins switched to FM radio broadcasting, a leap forward that allowed you to tune in with crisp stereo quality. Yet even then, that old magic lingered. The sound vibrated through your doors, blending with the rustle of candy wrappers, the wildly unique extras. Every drive-in had its own soul, a personality shaped by the imagination of its owner and the spirit of its community. You could drive across the country and never find two alike. Some had playgrounds directly beneath the giant screen, where kids swung and laughed as the projector warmed up, their silhouettes flickering across the light like ghosts in motion. Others transformed into small amusement parks, miniature golf courses tucked behind the lot, pony rides for children, even fireworks shows that lit the sky after the final credits rolled. In Copiague, New York, there was the legendary Johnny All-Weather Drive-In, capable of holding 2,500 cars. It wasn't just a movie spot, it had a full restaurant, an indoor lounge, and even heating systems so you could stay cozy during the cold months. Down in Texas, some drive-ins went even bigger, with swimming pools built right next to the screen. Picture it, kids floating on inner tubes, watching a western unfold across the water's shimmering reflection while the warm night breeze drifted over the pool. Owners treated their drive-ins like living works of art. They weren't chained to a corporate blueprint. They built experiences from scratch. One theater might specialize in chili dogs and root beer floats, served straight to your car window. Another might host carload nights, where one flat price covered however many friends or cousins you could squeeze into the back seat. A few went further still, adding motels along the edges, where travelers could watch the movie from their room windows like their own private box seats. Every visit felt different because every drive-in felt alive. It was part diner, part carnival, part open-air cinema. You'd arrive expecting to watch a movie, but you always left with a memory. Your brother winning a free milkshake at the trivia contest, your mom dancing barefoot beside the car during intermission, or that one electric summer night when they screened Jaws just as thunder cracked. The glow and the ritual. Part of what made drive-ins magical wasn't just what you saw on the screen, it was how you got there. There was a rhythm to the whole experience, almost like a ritual passed down through generations. You didn't just go to the movies, you prepared for it. Blankets, bug spray, lawn chairs, maybe a picnic basket or a cooler packed with soda bottles, clinking softly in the back seat. The drive itself was half the fun. Headlights carving through twilight, the radio murmuring an old tune, the horizon glowing faintly with the promise of the big screen ahead. Every mile closer built anticipation. Then you turned down that familiar gravel road, and there it was, the towering screen rising out of the dark like a monument to summer itself. The little ticket booth glowed warmly at the entrance, a cube of light with an attendant who always seemed to smile as they handed over the stub. The smell of popcorn and exhaust filled the air as cars rolled in one by one, their tires crunching over gravel. Finding your spot was its own kind of art. Maybe row 4, the perfect distance for sound and picture. You'd angle the car just right on the sloped ramp, roll down the windows and let the night air in. Around you, hundreds of other families did the same. A quiet ballet of brake lights, laughter, and snippets of conversation carried on the breeze. Then, without warning, everything settled into stillness. The projector flickered to life, slicing a bright beam through the night air, dust motes drifting like tiny stars. The faint whir of the reel and the hum of the speakers signaled the beginning. The opening credits shimmered, and suddenly the world beyond your windshield disappeared. You weren't sitting in a parking lot anymore. You were floating somewhere between dream and reality, between stars on the screen and stars in the sky. A symbol of freedom. At its heart, the drive-in was never just about movies, it was about freedom. The freedom to move, to choose your own space, to make the night entirely yours. You weren't confined to a seat number or a theater aisle. You had your own little universe on 4 wheels. In post-war America, when the car became the ultimate symbol of independence, the drive-in was its natural cathedral, a temple of headlights and starlight, where motion met magic. For teenagers, that freedom was intoxicating. The drive-in was often the first taste of adulthood. The first time you were trusted with the car keys. The first time you met friends away from the watchful eyes of parents. It was where curfews were tested and memories were made. The air buzzed with youthful rebellion, the scent of gasoline and popcorn mingling as engines idled low. A simple parking lot transformed into a playground for dreams, one where you could fall in love, share secrets, or just feel the thrill of being out in the world, making your own rules. For families, it meant something gentler but just as important: escape without distance. Parents could bundle the kids in pajamas, toss a few blankets in the trunk, and head off to the local drive-in, knowing everyone could relax. It was comfort without confinement, adventure without chaos. You could laugh too loud, stretch your legs, even nap through the second feature. No one cared. It was the rare space where life's boundaries softened. And for everyone else, it stood as proof that entertainment didn't need luxury. There were no marble floors, no velvet curtains, just an open field, a glowing screen, and a dash of imagination. That simplicity was part of its beauty. The drive-in turned something ordinary, a car, a field, a summer night, into something transcendent. Even today, in an age of endless streaming and skyscraper-sized multiplexes, the few drive-ins that remain still mean something bigger: the personal touch. What made drive-ins truly magical wasn't mass production, it was personality. Every one of them had a soul, a signature, a little heartbeat that reflected the person who built it. You could tell the moment you pulled in by the quirky hand-painted signs, the color of the ticket booth, or the smell drifting from the snack bar. No two drive-ins were ever the same, because no two owners were. Each one poured a little bit of themselves into the place, and that personal touch was what made them unforgettable. Some owners painted murals on the screen towers, turning the blank white canvas into art when the sun was still up. Others built giant mascots or decorated their snack bars with cartoon characters that made kids laugh before the movie even began. There were drive-ins where the owner's dog wandered the lot like a local celebrity, and others where you could tell, from the careful upkeep and fresh paint, that someone loved this place like it was part of their family. One of the most famous stories comes from Kansas City, where a man named Wes Neal ran the Boulevard Drive-In for decades. He didn't just own it, he lived there, right on the property, greeting customers from his porch and checking on the speakers himself well into his 90s. The community adored him so much that they still celebrate Wes Neal Day every summer, long after his passing. That kind of legacy, built not by marketing but by memory, is what the drive-in represents. In an era where entertainment has become faceless and uniform, where every multiplex looks the same and every streaming platform feels automated, drive-ins stand as a reminder of something deeply human. They were built by families, not corporations, maintained with love. You could feel that warmth in the way the ticket attendant waved you through, or in how the oldies station played softly while the sun dipped below the horizon. The curtain call. Eventually, every movie ends. The screen fades to black. Engines rumble to life one by one. A sea of taillights begins to glow red against the night as cars roll toward the exit in a slow, quiet procession. But if you've ever been to a drive-in, you know the final moments. When the credits finish and the sky swallows the last bit of light, carry a kind of magic all their own. There's a silence that settles over the lot, heavier than it should be. It isn't sadness, exactly. It's something softer, a fullness. The kind of stillness that reminds you that you've just witnessed something fleeting and beautiful. You can hear the gravel crunch under tires, the low murmur of families saying goodnight, the fading hum of the projector as it powers down. The night air feels cooler now, wrapping around you as if urging you to stay a few moments longer before rejoining the world outside. You sit there for a while, maybe finishing the last sip of soda, maybe holding someone's hand, maybe watching the smoke from the snack bar curl upward in the distance. Around you, The field empties, but for that one brief moment, you don't move. You just exist inside the glow of what was. It's the kind of quiet that makes you realize how alive you felt for the past few hours, how rare it is to be surrounded by strangers and still feel a sense of belonging. That was the secret beauty of drive-ins. They made ordinary nights unforgettable. So if you ever stumble across one still standing, maybe a weathered sign by the highway or an open field with a lonely screen, don't just drive past it. Pull in, tune your radio, roll down the windows, let the sound fill the car and breathe in the night air. When it's dire, it's because some things just need to be remembered. If you enjoyed this video, click on the ones showing on your screen to enjoy more.